latest. In today's riveting episode, I'm going to try to explain how we sell your almonds, at least in the types, grades, qualities, give you a little sense of when you send something in, how does it then get marketed and packaged to the buyer. We can start with varieties, okay? You guys are all very familiar with what you grow, right? So Nonpareil, Aldrich, Monterey, Wood Colony, Butte, Padre, Fritz, okay? Those are the varieties. When they come here, some of them go out identified as their varieties, but a large percentage of them do not. So the main variety, Nonpareil, I would say is 99% always going out identified as Nonpareil. The buyer knows it, the buyer wants it, there's a premium associated with it, so it is the lead dog as far as being called by its own name. The rest of them start to be a mixed bag, and some of this is going to get a little bit complicated, but bear with me here, okay? So what happens is they'll get grouped, right? And the groups can change, the groups can be kind of, well, sometimes they include this, sometimes they include that. Over the years, they've changed as well. So some of those groupings, well, you've got the Nonpareil. Then we'll start calling things Cals, Californias, okay? You can consider anything that's not a Nonpareil typically starts to fall as a Cal. We've excluded sometimes, way back in when, the Mission. They would not be included with it. You'll talk to old school people that say, no, California just includes these varieties. Oh, other people will say that. In my view, a lot of it is just going to be a Nonpareil, maybe a true Mission. Everything else could be called a California. Depends on how it works. There's also a term we'll use called blanchable. Okay, blanchable just refers to the fact that if you blanch an almond, you take its skin off. So a lot of its uses are somebody takes it, blanches that off, slices it, dices it, turns it into flour, maybe something like that. In the past, they were very focused on what is a blanchable almond, what one has its skin easily removed. They made quite an issue for quite a while on Padre that it wasn't blanchable. The Almond Board and I believe the Hullers Association funded studies that then showed, hey, it actually blanches very easily. So for a lot of years we acted as if it wasn't, but now it is. So we can group things as blanchable. The only thing that people typically think of as not blanchable is, again, that old Mission, which most people don't have. Okay? Carmel type. That's another one where, that's a name, but we're grouping it as well. Why? Because Carmel is an old variety, and buyers recognize it from way back when. We have then grouped almonds into that and called them Carmel type. Most people think of that as a bullet-shaped almond. Monterey, Aldrich, Wood Colony, all would fall under Carmel type as they get moved out of here and sold to a buyer. There are occasionally times where we will label, because of a buyer request, a true Carmel, or maybe we'll call it a Monterey. Sometimes there'll be exceptions. Hey, I don't want Wood Colony in this Carmel type thing. So we try to pay attention to what the buyers want as far as how and what they get and how it's labeled. Okay, so that's varieties. Then we go into groupings. Then we have sizes, I think you guys are all familiar with. So I would say most almonds leave here identified by a size. Once again, that's how many almonds make up an ounce. So here I put 1820s being the big one, less almonds per ounce. 2022, a little smaller down. There's 22 of them that take up an ounce, then all the way down, okay? We'll also add the initials, typically AOS or AOL. Those just stand for and or smaller. So I'm allowed to put anything this big and smaller, or more typically and or larger. So the man will allow me, I want a 2225 or bigger. So that's typically the bigger almonds will have the AOL with them. The smaller stuff, maybe we're allowed to go smaller. Okay, the last, maybe more important thing from the packing side is grades. Okay, so we typically will sell something as an extra number one. a US #1, which is in the industry called a Supreme. Then you have a Select Sheller Run, which we abbreviate as SSR, and then the lowest grade would be a Standard. So all those grades have tolerances that are allowed for various splits, chipped and scratched, doubles, serious defect. What am I allowed in these grades? Most of the higher grades, which are these up above, extra #1s and Supremes, non-Perel would go out primarily as that. We do some of the other groupings and classifications as those higher grades, but it would be fairly rare. The rest of the stuff, besides the non-Perel at high grade, are going out almost exclusively as a Select Sheller Run and or finally Standards. So if you were visually going to look at those, right? So this grading, what would I see? And I could show you picture after picture, and it's going to be hard to pick up. What you visually will see typically is the chipped and scratched, right? So visually, a Supreme will look a little cleaner. You get to an SSR, I see more nicks, more scratches. All those have tolerances on how they grade them, have to be a certain size, that type of thing, to be under that quality. We did an earlier latest on then cartons, super sacks, fiber bins. That's another whole deal about how they then man wants them packaged up. But mainly I wanted to get across to you is your varieties typically are sized, and they'll be associated with how they go out. They then are grouped into typically categories and maybe not kept as your variety. And then the grades are probably the more important thing about how they move out to the buyer himself. Hopefully that was a little educational for you. This has been Dave Bazaar, and that's the latest.